Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony got a chance to rewatch the Ohio State Northwestern game. That's what we're talking about on today's show. I got to say, a lot of the comments on my tweets on Saturday make a lot more sense in terms of people talking about hey, there was, didn't get a great look at the Carnell Tate touchdown, for example. It reminded me, I don't know if you remember the 2004 Ohio State-Michigan game where Ted Ginn returns the punt. And he runs down the sideline, and as he's about ready to score, some person in South Stands raises their arms with in a touchdown celebration and holds this Diet Coke bottle right in front of the camera. It was kind of like that, except with a million people's heads, as everyone was sort of standing up. And the camera angles, Tony, it turns out not ideal for football when you play in a baseball stadium.
It is always interesting when we do see that, and it happens in regular football stadiums as well, but that was a unfortunate time for everybody to get excited about a touchdown. And then also logistically, when they're pre-planning all of these camera locations, and there's only so many you can have there, and there is no spider cam that they can move around. So you're like, well, as long as there are no touchdowns right in this corner, we should be fine. And the director watching that drive, watching that throw, just going,
Well, the tricky part is that was the area, that was the corner of that end zone where you could throw it potentially deeper into the end zone because you had much more room before you got to the wall. That one was just barely across the goal line, but you had much more room to throw deep on that corner of that end zone. So you had the game plan for Ohio State probably working against the TV broadcast networks. Does not seem to have any impact whatsoever in the TV broadcast network's interest in televising Ohio State games, but I guess we'll see if it impacts things in the future. You had a very nice piece that you wrote up on just how cool that game was. Before we dive into the game, that was, I will say once again, one of the more interesting, more fun, just really a fantastic day all around. Really cool experience. I think for probably everyone who was there, regardless of whether they were sitting behind a pole or not.
Yeah, and I think this was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I think one of the things I wanted to make a point of in that piece I wrote is every single Ohio State home game is somebody's first time experiencing something that many people have gotten accustomed to. And I'm no different, you're no different. We get there and it's like, I'm back. It's not old hat, but it's old shoe, I guess, if you will. And I would like people to appreciate it more maybe and recognize that there are people there that are experiencing it for the first time, and this is awe and wonder, and things aren't always going to go perfectly, and you can get upset about it, but also just don't forget that you're watching something in a place that has been standing for over 100 years and has been home to some incredible moments, and the potential is always there for one of the next incredible moment to be right in front of you. So I think that's an excitement that he shouldn't just ignore or, let pass by without appreciating.
Yep. Well said. And Ohio State played last weekend in one of the most iconic venues in American sports. And this weekend, they will once again play in one of the most iconic venues in American sports. So not bad on the whole. What do you want to, I'll tell you what, I'll go first, just because.
I'll go
Tony,
first. No, go ahead.
Okay, that's fine.
No. Please, you.
All right. So let's see. One of the first things that I was really interested to see was that fumble on the first drive, because I had a terrible vantage point for that. That was all going away from me where I was on the field, and I don't remember seeing a replay. So it was kind of like Davison Igbinosun had the ball at some point. When did that happen? How did that happen? I have no idea. So, yeah, it was interesting to see. Ohio State got a bunch of pressure just with a 4-man rush on that play. And I think the other thing that needs to get called out is that was great effort from Jack Sawyer. He was on the backside and chased it down all the way around, up past the line of scrimmage, downfield, chased it down, forces the fumble. And I don't think, Tony, I have ever seen a fumble bounce more perfectly to someone than Davison Igbinosun. watching the game again, knowing what happens on the play, you watch that ball bounce to him, and it's like, oh, he gone. Like, he is gone. Like, it is set up where everyone's running one way, and then he's got it coming perfectly the other way, and he's kind of out on the edge there. There were just a couple too many Wildcats out there, but even knowing how the play went, my brain kind of went, oh, he's got this. He is going.
Yeah, it was a reminiscent of the fumble that we talk a lot about with the J.K. Dobbins against Michigan, where he fumbles it and it bounces right back to him, and it could have been much worse. But this one, a direct shot to Igbinosun. Great hands on the play. Good job by him. Jack Sawyer was fantastic in that game, and not just getting after the passer, but getting after running backs. As you said, the effort there, six tackles in the first half, season high, and then finished with 7 for the game. He's been getting grief throughout the season. I think he showed in this game why he is the excitement level has been there. And he can do this each week. I don't even know if he registered an actual sack as I look real quickly. Yeah, no sacks in this game, but his impact was felt consistently. So if they can get this kind of game from him every week, Larry Johnson, Jim Knowles, Ryan Day would take it, and he'd finish, he doesn't have a sack the last 7 games, but if he's playing like this, I don't think anybody's going to care. You'd rather have a forced fumble, than a sack, because the pressure is still there. And they were getting pressure. That first drive, they were getting pressure, and they were blitzing well and blitzing effectively. I think one of the things they need to fix is when you have a free shot at the quarterback, you better get him. And I may have lost track counting, because I'm going to count how many times they have the quarterback and they just whiff. And I have 3 down. Now, I may have missed one, but when you've got 3 shots on the quarterback without anybody to worry about, you've made it. The blitz has worked. The pass rush has worked. All you have to do is tackle him. And 3 times you whiffed. I think the first one was IGB on a corner blitz. And he wasn't the only one. Somebody, there are at least 2 others and perhaps more. When I say there are only 3, I'm sure people are like, no, there had to be more. There may have been. Go count for yourself. Don't just rely on me. Don't ever rely on me to do your counting. But you're going to have these opportunities, and these blitzes are becoming more and more effective, and they're overloading the front. They're overwhelming the offensive line. But you got to bring the guy down. And when you do, then Tom, I don't know the numbers on this one, but I'm sure the points per drive on which you give up a sack are probably very, very low relative to the drives where you don't.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have not looked up those numbers, but that is probably extremely true. I don't know if you block a punt, you win 100% of the games kind of accurate, but I bet it is. I bet it's, just you think about it, just you rail the drive so much, you lose it down, you lose the yardage, you put yourself in, first of all, a lot of those sacks are probably in passing situations. So you get a sack on 3rd down. I bet your average points per drive goes pretty close to 0 at that point. But yeah, I think that's been a big part of why is Ohio State able to get off the field now much more than they were in previous weeks. Well, they've gotten to the quarterback a lot more. I'm not sure if your whiffs on the quarterback stat counts whiffs on the punter as well, but they had one there as well. So you can add that one to your list. You know what? Let's just hit the punt real quick. This is I'm going to say something nice about the officials, Tony, and it's going to set up a different thing in a minute. So don't worry. We'll return harmony to earth by saying something negative about the officials in a second. But on that block punt, watch the line judge who is coming down the sideline as the ball's, this is a very unpredictable play. You're not expecting, I'm going to have to sprint down to the goal line. The line judge comes sprinting down there, gets right on the goal line, and sees the ball cross where the ball crosses. And it was not like, okay, this is just a guesswork where, you see a punt go out of bounds and you can see them just kind of looking at each other like, I don't know, somewhere between here and 17 yards that way. That was, the guy was in his spot. Really, really well done officiating there. Okay, Tony, so now we said something nice. So now we can talk about something later in the game. They had back-to-back plays on the last drive of the game where it was 3rd and 2. Ohio State had 3rd and 2 and then had 4th and 2. And it's like, boy, Ohio State didn't score at all on the last, in the fourth quarter. Boy, that was terrible. 3rd and 2, history's most obvious pass interference call against Bennett Christian, and it was like right in front of everyone in the middle of the field, and somehow didn't get called. And then on the next one, it was not obvious on TV. I have pictures of it, and I can, I don't know, send those to you or throw them on Twitter or something. But Carnell Tate is getting grabbed from behind, like horse collared as he's trying to go up for the ball by the corner. And it was like 3rd and 2 and 4th and 2. Both of them very obviously should have been penalties and were not, which, that ties in with the Davison Igbinosun pass interference call earlier, which was like, we talked about this in the postgame show. It was like, yeah, that was probably pass interference. Does that kind of pass interference happen 75 times during a game and not get called? Yes. I do wonder, when you look at some of the stuff that didn't get called, and then you look at the thing that did get called with him, it was kind of like, I think everyone is looking for it now, and therefore when you're looking for it, then then you're always going to see it.
Confirmation bias against IGB.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was asking about what was the thought process in throwing deep on that one, and my answer was, I think they were just trying to give Carnell Tate another touchdown. 4th and 2, the game is over. You're just trying to have a little fun and reward him and give him a 3rd touchdown. I didn't look into that, read into it any more than that. But yeah, that Bennett Christian pass interference is pretty bad. But it was not, that's not Davison Igbinosun doing that. So we're going to let it go. And the guy that threw the penalty against Igbinosun was behind the play. And I don't know that he could necessarily have seen much of the contact, since he would be blocked by Igbinosun himself doing it. But he certainly saw the number, and that was probably good enough for him. And he wasn't wrong. He wasn't technically wrong. So shouldn't give him too much grief, I guess. How about this one, Tom? Jeremiah Smith on his 68-yard run, when he gets into the clear and he just opens it up, it's like a combination of Forrest Gump's braces coming off of his legs and, like Secretariat. So imagine Secretariat with braces on his legs and running out of his braces. I mean, he can move, and it's a different thing than, say, like Teddy Ginn when he gets into the open field and you can just hear like symphonic music in your head. With Jeremiah Smith, you're there. I don't know if there's music or anything. It's just like a train just plowing through, because that dude can run, and he's becoming a more well-rounded receiver in terms of where they use him. They're getting him into the slot more, which is something that they rarely do with freshmen. Carnell Tate was able to do that last year. Marvin Harrison didn't do that as a freshman. Like, they can play him anywhere now, and they can match him up with safeties, and that makes him even more dangerous. But there was another one where he's just running downfield, and safeties have no shot unless safeties have to be waiting for him, because they can't run with him. And so I'm interested to see how Indiana handles him and what they choose to do with him, because when he opens it up, man, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I looked at him at one point and thought, it's been like 100 and something years since Music and Cannon Fire was a nickname at Ohio State. I can't imagine the Chick Harley estate still owns the trademark on that. So they could bring that one back if they wanted to. But yeah, you get him in the open field, and that was another one where I know how this play ends. I saw it, and you're still going, oh, he's gone. Like, he is. There's no one catching him on this one. That was also the one where they caught him, and if the Northwestern defensive back had done what he did to Jeremiah Smith to Secretariat, it would have been time for the glue factory. So probably good that it was not done to a horse. Yeah, I think that was probably not the finest moment in the history of Northwestern football. But from all indications, it's not going to be a big long-term concern. But no, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see your team doing that. You don't want to see the other team doing that. Something you do want to see, Tony, more from the Ohio State safeties. Oh boy, were the Ohio State safeties good on Saturday. Once again, I had a note about how well they were playing. and then saw this sequence, and I had just kind of not put this all together. This actually happened right after the pass interference on Davis Igbinosun. Northwestern has the ball inside the Ohio State 30, and first down, there is a great open field tackle by Jordan Hancock to if he misses a tackle, it's another first down. Great open field tackle. So now it's 2nd and 7 or something like that. They throw a little dump off to a tight end who was, started blocking Sonny Styles and then released, and he's open there. And then Caleb Downs comes downhill. Great open field tackle for loss on that one. And then 3rd down, they get another run. They send a safety on a run blitz, another tackle for loss. And I was like, oh, I wonder who that was. Oh, of course it was Lathan Ransom. All right, sure. So now you've got the 3 guys who they kind of designate as safeties. Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3. Just really, really good, solid open field tackles. That's going to be important against Indiana. We talked about this a little bit on our rewatch show yesterday. Indiana's going to be throwing the ball a lot. Indiana uses a bunch of screens. You're going to have to be sure tacklers. You got to be able to get guys down in space. Indiana is a very good outside perimeter blocking team. Ohio State safeties, I'm going to put my money on Ohio State safeties being able to get off of a decent number of those blocks. That's, Jim Knowles has called this a safety-driven defense for years. This is the year you're really kind of seeing that.
The last play on that series was full circle. Davis Igbinosun breaking up a pass on 4th down to totally redeem himself. Good job there. Let's see. Let's talk about Carnell Tate, because his ability to protect the ball with his body, he did that on his touchdown catch. He also did that on the first catch, diving in like at the 2-yard line, was somehow able to get his arm and his body under the ball. And the ball is, 2 or 3 inches off the ground, but he's able to grab it and pick it up and turn all this while in the air. And the sheer ability to do things like that are underrated. We saw Jeremiah Smith not do that on the touchdown catch that he dropped because he wasn't able to protect the ball. I think it's really, really cool how Carnell Tate is able to do that and make a diving catch in the end zone. And then while you're diving and while you're catching, you can twist your body and turn it 180 degrees so that you land on your back, and the ball is never going to hit the ground because it's landing. You've got it trapped between you and your body, basically. There's nowhere for it to go. So great job by him doing that. And again, I have no problem with them throwing to him deep later on in the game, trying to get him a 3rd touchdown. It was a great, incredible athleticism, incredible receiver skills, ball protection skills, ball skills to be able to do that, and not just, I'm just going to catch it, and then whatever happens. I'm going to catch it. I'm going to protect it. I'm going to bring it in. Then I'm going to hand it to the ref. And that was impressive. I think he did it at least 2 times in that game.
Well, I think that falls in line with it's not just great receivers, it's well-coached receivers and well-developed receivers at Ohio State, where, you get these great receivers coming in and you've got incredible raw talent, and they can catch the ball down the field. But you see, how many times have we talked about, boy, Emeka Egbuka is doing a really good job blocking on the perimeter. We talk about that all the time. We talk about, using your body to shield the catch. In this case, everyone kind of knows you're supposed to do it, but not everyone's good at it because you don't work on it all the time. Not everyone's great at one-handed catches, but you see them working on it all the time. And I didn't realize until later that the Jeremiah Smith one was really kind of a one-handed catch. He was trying to kind of catch it in the crook of his arm from 40 yards downfield or something like that. That is not an easy play. But you mentioned it, the throw where it wasn't a touchdown. It was a throw down to about the 2-yard line. That might have been the most impressive catch all day, where he's got a safety right behind him and he's got a safety coming right up in front of him. And believe me, you can see that guy in your peripheral vision. You can see that there is someone coming with bad intentions. That was maybe the loudest hit I heard all day. And it ended up being a Northwestern guy hitting a Northwestern guy because Carnell Tate got down and got under it. That was loud. I was, 40 feet away from that, and it was loud. So to be able to not do the alligator arms thing on that one, to be able to complete the catch, do it, use your body to shield the defender, all that stuff. That was, that's not the play anyone's going to remember from him in that game, but that might have been the most impressive play that he made in that game. let's see, someone who had a bunch of really impressive plays. Sonny Styles. You saw him on the sacks, and that was great. He had a great PBU on the first Northwestern drive of the second half in coverage. Then it was 3rd and 6, and he ran down the quarterback on a 3rd and 6 scramble where I thought, well, they picked up another first down. Nope, he ran from a long way away to chase the quarterback out a yard or two short of the sticks. I didn't think he had a chance to make it. And then the second sack, early fourth quarter, that is about as fast as you ever see someone getting in on the quarterback. That was just almost instant on that sack. And all these different plays, all these, these are all different kind of skill sets. These are all different kind of situations. None of that touches on that throwback on the end around where Northwestern hands the ball to a receiver, and then he's trying to throw it back to the quarterback, and Ohio State's bringing a ton of pressure from the outside, and the quarterback is, they never showed a wide angle, so I don't know exactly how wide open it was, but it was presented by the broadcasters as he could have walked in. But Sonny Styles is there, breaks the pass up, saves a touchdown. It was as well-rounded a game as you've seen from him, and we've talked about him, Jim Knowles talks about him as a secret weapon for years. We've heard about this. This was the game where you really saw it. You can see it clicking now. You can see what you've been hearing about for years and years and years, going back to high school, what a freak athlete he was. It's like, okay, now he's in the right spot. Now he's doing all the stuff that we've kind of heard about him potentially being able to do. It's now showing up on the field.
And even watching it, he's doing all of these things. And if you watch it, and you'll see like how, he could have made the play there on the running back, or he could have gotten to the quarterback a little faster there if he would have just, recognized it sooner. And you get to this nitpicking thing of where you expect this person to be absolutely perfect, and nobody's absolutely perfect. And in that expectation, you ignore all of the stuff he's doing that is absolutely outstanding. And because it's like, well, these two things over here, and it's like, you'll never be happy. There's some of these people, some people will never be happy with just, you could add this or you could add that. Look what he did do. Look at the touchdown saving pass broken up on the throwback to the quarterback. Because if that's the same play, because there was a screen, and I think it was that throwback where there were two offensive linemen out there waiting and maybe a defensive back. Now, I don't think it was Caleb Downs. I think it may have been Davis and Nick Benosin, if I'm remembering correctly. But regardless, unless it's Antoine Winfield, two offensive linemen against one defensive back is not a winning proposition for the defense. But making plays all over, and I keep saying the blitzing is becoming more and more effective, and they're coming from different angles. The corners are blitzing, but when he's lined up as one of those, like he's between the end and a tackle, and it's like the offensive lineman picks the wrong guy or lets him free, like forget about it. He's getting to that point now where if the running back's not picking him up, the quarterback is going down. And so all of the things that people wanted to see from Sonny Styles, they are now seeing. It's just sometimes they're not looking. They're forgetting that to appreciate it and to recognize what he's doing, and he's going to continue to do for them. So I thought this was maybe his best game, and it's granted this is his first year of starting, but we're saying that more and more about him,
Yeah. And I mean, talking about two offensive linemen being out in front of a screen with only one defender there, I'm pretty sure that happened basically almost exactly against Purdue, where they had two offensive linemen out there. They threw a little screen. Purdue was going right to left on the TV, and it was kind of towards the right sideline, the top of the screen. And I don't remember the specifics, but it was like, I think a third down, and there were two Purdue offensive linemen out there, and he just kind of looked right around him and made the play. And even the stuff that you look at and you go, well, he's got no chance there. Like, well, actually, as it turns out, important update, he did in fact have a chance.
One other thing that I want to talk about is the camera angles and the camera access that we're getting now with these new TV contracts is pretty cool. You're seeing different reactions on the bench. We saw the last game out for Carson Hinsman thanking the makers of the knee brace for saving his knee. You saw this one as the receivers are watching Jeremiah Smith's replay of his drop in the end zone, and like Jeremiah Smith himself is looking at it. He's like, no, that's wrong. That's terrible. Watching the instant replay, like, how could they do that to me? Which tells you, like, this Jeremiah Smith is a biased source on that catch. Let's just get that out in front, and there should be a scroll going, this is not an unbiased source. And you see the way his teammates react, like, oh man, And I think with all of the money being given to the schools now, the access that is kind of being forced upon them and given to us, given to the television viewers, I think is pretty cool. And that was another example of that, to see the reactions live as they're watching it and getting the bad news. And it's like, I can't believe it.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, that is a facility where you're somewhat limited with camera angles. We talked about that. But yeah, overall, that's one of the things that you've sort of seen over the last 10-ish years. The TV product continues to get better and better. And that has caused sort of a little bit of a transition from people from being at the stadium to people being at home. So it has not always worked out great in every way for the schools, but the checks cash, and it does make it a better broadcast overall. One more thing I wanted to talk about was how good the Ohio State running backs, and specifically Quinshon Judkins, were on Saturday. Northwestern was really aggressive in the run game, especially early. He got drilled with a guy coming clean at one point on, I think it was a 3rd and short. Shrugged it off, picked up a first down. 2 plays later, gets hit a yard after the line of scrimmage, turns it into a gain of 4. Next drive, 2nd and 10, gets his 1 yard past the line of scrimmage, turns it into a 3rd and 3. It's just so consistently we've heard over the years, if the play's blocked for 3, you want to get 6. He was doing that. And the numbers were not super exciting, but it was just, the play was blocked for a 2-yard loss and it turns into a 2-yard gain. The play's blocked for 1, it turns into 7. It was a really kind of low-key impressive day for him.
Well, and Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, 26 carries for 150 yards, long carry of 19 yards. So there was consistent yardage there, and that's chain moving, that's staying on schedule, that's allowing you to do whatever you want whenever you want. And I thought his second touchdown run was really good, and they're all short, but the push of the left side of the offensive line and Seth McLaughlin sealing things off, really starting to come together there. Travion Henderson is sped up, but in a good way. I think the anticipation and the vision that he's got going is accurate this year, and that's been maybe a question mark of his at times in the past, where he seems like he's got more energy than I'd say he knows what to do with, but he knows what to do with all of the energy, which is making him even better. So really impressed with those two. One of my last notes here is I don't think this is an antiquated pass rush any longer. We're seeing more and more of different things, and even when it is just 4, it's more effective as well. I thought Northwestern's play calling on 3rd downs was really good offensively. They got Ohio State early on those, and they did a good job there. This was not Jermaine Matthews' best day. He's going to have to come back from this one and lose that memory, just leave that game in the background, but also learn from it and maybe be more aware, more alert, because this could have been not a loss, but this could have looked much worse for him and for Ohio State if some of those blown coverages come down in the end zone like they could have. And the last thing I got here is the what do I have here? The snapping. Ohio State snapping with like 15 seconds left on the play clock because they're trying to get more plays, because they're trying to even out what Northwestern was doing. And so I thought that was interesting, where they're trying to get more plays by snapping the ball earlier. And it's like, whatever defense they're in, that's fine. We need to go. Let's go. And it wasn't up tempo. They just weren't trying to milk the clock.
Yeah, and that's, I think, reflective of they recognize, hey, you only have so much time, and Northwestern really was milking the clock. I mean, Northwestern is managing the clock the way, if I play with Navy on EA Sports, like you're milking the clock all the way down to just drive the opponent absolutely insane. That's what Northwestern was doing in a way that you never see that. That's so unusual because it makes it very easy to time the snap if you're always snapping it at 1, but they were always snapping it at 1 because that was, stay on the field as long as humanly possible was their goal. And yeah, you're right. Ohio State responded to that. And, it wasn't up tempo, but it wasn't it was medium tempo. It was average tempo, at least, to get that ball snapped and keep the clock, from really becoming a weapon for Northwestern. One thing that I did want to shout out, Jake Butt, with the single biggest announcer jinx in the history of broadcasting. He talks about the fact that Ohio State, hasn't been able to run the ball at all. And immediately, third quarter, this is the drive that started with about 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Travion Henderson run up the middle for 19 yards. Next play, Travion Henderson pass, 12 yards, first down. Next play, Quinshon Judkins, 17-yard run. Next play, Quinshon Judkins, 14-yard run. It was just like, the announcer jinx thing is kind of like a running joke, but also I genuinely in my heart believe that Jake Butt caused that drive for Ohio State, because he was right. It hadn't been a fantastic game running the ball for Ohio State. They had really been having to work for everything they got. And then it was like the floodgates opened. And there was a point in that game where during the first 23 minutes of the second half, Ohio State had outrushed Northwestern 93-0. Allow me to assure you, if you outrush a team 93-0 in any quarter and some change, that is probably going to be a good quarter and some change for your team.
Take note, and let's all see if we can find any instances of that where Tom is wrong. And please email that to me and let me know. I would love to show that to Tom, and we'll do it on air. We'll do it live, and we'll sabotage his day. That's what we all live for. So I want to thank you all. Go ahead and give us a thumbs up for sabotaging Tom's day and the plans to do so. And of course, if you want to give us a 5-star rating and review for the same thing or for this show, we'd appreciate that as well, whatever podcast platform you listen to. And of course, you can always find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up, get your first month right now for $4.99. What a month it is looking to be. So we'll have plenty there. We have plenty there for you now. So stop on by. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys later.